What is up, ladies and germs? It's Michael Burns with One Mic Out. And today, just a couple things, again, as always, where we're talking about inclinations versus essentially, thoughts, turning the thoughts, turning into inspiration, turning into motivation, which should lead into determination, which then should lead into discipline. And just going to kind of talk about the differences of those because I think a lot of people get inspiration, motivation, and determination confused with where they think they're synonymous, where I personally don't believe they are. And my thought process behind that is this. So bear with me. Every action that you have in your life has to start somewhere. Somewhere up in your head, something has told you to control your motor skills to do that action, to carry that action out. And so it starts with what? Well, it can't start off with a thought first. Something has to spark that thought. So what sparks that thought? So I call it an inclination. It serves as say the spark to create the thought. So an inclination, and then you put a small little thought or a big one into the next action. So brain tells the tummy, or tummy tells the brain I'm thirsty or whatnot. And so at that point, the inclination is there. So you put thought into, okay, bottle of water. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to put it to my lips. I'm going to drink it. That right there, that whole little process was inclination and thought process, resulting in an action. When it comes to motivation, a lot of people will have to first become inspired. And with that being that inspiration, that then leads to motivation. And that motivating factor is an exciting feeling that you get within you where you now want to go out and carry out an action based off of the inspiration that you just received, and you're turning it into motivation. So that motivation is the want and the desire, the excitement to go out now and carry forth that action, all based off of a thought that you had, which probably led to a goal or something in your head, something you want to see yourself lose some weight, lift more, do whatever, go to school, whatever it is. And that started off with an inclination. So you kind of start connecting the dots a little bit. So forgive me, I'm all over the place. So you get this motivation, this exciting feeling. And around the first of the year is when everyone fails at this because everyone gets so motivated. And motivation is a killer. Motivation it truly is some horseshit because it is a mood. And what happens with moods? Moods change. They swing. So moods will kind of pendulum back and forth. And so we can be happy right now, but then 5 minutes from now, we can be sad. Based off of music we're listening to, or based off of whatever we're watching, a certain color, a certain ambiance, a certain lighting can all affect this. So using motivation as your primary fuel to carry out an action, a consistent action, a day in, day out action is unhealthy. And you could equate it to like a battery, and a battery versus an alternator or a stator, where that battery in your vehicle is only there to help the vehicle turn over to where the engine can now just run off of the alternator, which is essentially think of it as a small little generator within the vehicle itself. Now that is now running the electronics in that vehicle, keeping everything in motion, everything running, all your electronics are going and all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. It's not really the battery is not meant to be the primary energy source for your vehicle. If it is, a lot of times when alternators go bad and now it's just pulling too much from the battery dies real quick. And so now you're left in this it's like you experience the high and now you're on the low, and now you feel like shit, or the battery's dead. Now you don't want to do it anymore. Your motivation is gone. It's subterranean. So motivation is a pendulum. All right, it's a feeling, it's a mood, it's a type of excitement. Where in the military we always call it false motivation. You need to false motivate yourself. What that really is, what that false motivation truly is isn't actually any form of motivation, but what it really is a determination. You are now determined. And there's a difference between the two. Determination, you could feel like absolute shit. However, you know that you need to go out and run 5 miles, regardless of how hot it is outside, or how cold it is outside, or how early it is. But your goal was, I will run 5 miles a day for however long. And I'm not going to let anything deter me or impede me from being able to do that. So motivation, if you rely on motivation, you might be motivated, but you might open that door and it's super cold or super hot, and you might be like, screw that, fuck that, I'm going back to bed. Or I'm going back onto the couch or whatever. Go back and play video games. You almost were there. You got dressed, ready to go, but that motivation was then overpowered by a new feeling that pendulumed in, that came swinging in, that knocked that motivation out, and now you went back to doing what you were doing before. Where determination, once you start allowing that to be your primary fuel source, it doesn't matter how hot or cold it is, what the circumstances are, you're going to go run those 5 miles. And what does it take to maintain that discipline or that determination is the discipline to do so, to go out and do that. And so you know, it's not easy. And a lot of people, everyone's always looking for the easy in and the easy out and the easy way to do everything. And motivation is I think it's a good thing. It can be a good thing, but it's the tinder, it's the spark, you know, but it definitely is not meant to be a primary fuel source for the actions that you want to see yourself carry out. And so, you know, the way I tell people is don't rely on motivation. You know, you get people, and I've said it a lot, like you get a lot of people, and and I get it, there's different types of people. I'm not a super animated guy in terms of, I'm not always excited and just ready to go and do this and do that and just always amped up. And some people are, you know, we're just a bunch of chemical blobs on this earth. And we all have different chemicals and different mixtures of chemicals within us that cause us to act certain ways and whatnot. And I just am not the type to be, you know, always super on the go and just animated, wanting to just be super excited all the time. Where other people who might have a different type of chemical imbalance, if you will allow those certain emotions to take over for a minute, and you'll see them super high and super low. And that's, you know, those are the, you know, in my opinion, those are dangerous areas, because if you're going to get super excited for something, that means you can also get super sad about something. And so keeping emotions in check is huge when it comes to all that kind of stuff. And so you throw the motivating factor out, in terms of the motivation factor out, I should say. And now you switch over to running purely on determination and discipline. And now it doesn't matter if you're motivated or not. You're essentially now, you know, training your body to react to that determination to, I'm running 5 miles no matter what. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to go do it. Just like, you know, think of it in terms of this, you know, yes, we all have jobs because money motivates us to have a job, but are we truly motivated? No, we just know what happens because we know the consequence if we live without money. So we need we need money, and money isn't an actual motivator for you to go to work, because you're not excited about it. Most people aren't, I should say. Forgive me if you're excited about going to work. I certainly am, if anyone from work is watching. But what I'm getting at is, it could be school, it could be anything else, to where, you know, when you're uncomfortable and you know you're going to be uncomfortable, whether it's in a social setting or in a physical setting, in terms of, you're about to destroy yourself in the gym, or you're about to be out in the sun all day working, or you're just going to be in an area where you're bored to death all day, you're not motivated to get up and go to that job. However, you're doing it every day. Why? Because you're disciplined to do it. You're determined to do it. Why? Because you know the consequence if you don't do that. And so that's where, you know, I believe motivation is more of an excitement feeling. And it can be used for good, but I don't think you should use it as a primary fuel source to feel, you know, the way in which you're going to react to something. If you're looking for a certain result, determination and discipline are going to be what gets you there. If there were plenty of days in the military where you weren't motivated to get up and go do what you had to go do, but you were determined and disciplined to go do it, but you weren't motivated. There are plenty of days you weren't motivated. Ask anyone who's uh, you know, I'd say ask anyone who's been in the military, but the majority of people, I should say, you could probably ask, and they'd probably have something in common to relate to that. So that's just my thoughts on that whole thing. Where, again, a thought starts first with an inclination, then it turns into a thought. That thought turns into, you kind of turn that into some sort of an action. But something had to motivate you to want to carry out that action, which is great. But if you want something good to come from that action on a consistent basis, you're going to have to learn to let go of the motivation and rely more on determination and discipline. So let me know your thoughts on that. What do you think motivation is to you? What is inspiration and motivation to you? Are they good or are they bad things? Or can they be used as something that can be something that kind of help propel you to then take the training wheels off, and now you're running purely on determination and discipline? So just a thought I had today. So Michael Burns with One Mic Out, and let me know. I'll talk to you next time.